Emailed out the agenda. We will entertain a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. David handed out the minutes from the last meeting as he came into the room today, so I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, if you need a minute to look at it. But at your leisure, when you're ready for a motion, we will entertain one.
Motion to approve.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Public input. All right. Committee and authority members reports.
Unfortunately, we do not have a financial report. Didn't get anything back from Faye yet. Once those come in, I will forward them out to the entire group. Should be this week, I think. So, apologies.
No apologies necessary. All right, Randy, you're up.
I'm gonna jump in and say that based on our last data that we did receive from Faye, we're running about 9.5% to 11% under budget. The handouts that I've provided today indicate our last month's sale of May, which we had a pretty decent month, but June has already started off. We've sold more jet fuel so far this month than we did the entire month of May. So we're getting a lot of people moving, transiting, going on vacation, diverting in for weather. If you look at our estimated fuel on the bottom left corner of the June statement, you will see Jet A will probably be enough to carry us through the mid to end of July, but we will have to order 100 low lead AV by either the end of this month or the first of next. Either way, it's selling, so hey, you know, that's a good thing. We will have to buy some oil. Now for the bad news. You have two quotes from the Nelson tractor from a Kubota. Our zero turn went down, the head gasket blew, cracked, blown up, spit water, what have you. I have an estimate for repair at $1,630. I provided to you the first sheet. And then for one that says attention Randy, an estimate, that's for a brand new engine. However, our mowers are borrowed both by the rec department and the fire department to cut the grass as well. I'm not asking for anything from them. I'm just going to give you guys a heads up. Our mower's got over 2,000 hours on it of hard usage. I would like to table whatever we decide to do. I may entertain a repair and just go ahead and get it back in operation. But in our next year's budget, I would like to budget for a 100-inch cutter instead of a 72-inch deck.
So you're out of a mower right now?
I have the bush hog.
Okay.
So right now we're cutting everything with bush hog, so just don't look for it to be as neat as a golf course. But a little understanding goes a long way. We're doing what we can with what we got. So
Will they take the, not to interrupt, will they take your old one in for a trade-in?
I'm talking with the salesman now to see what they'll give us on the trade-in. See if we could trade or possibly a lease. Tim brought up an excellent point earlier today.
Normally your airport engineers will donate lawnmowers to airports.
Yeah, I think Lead probably has one zero turn sitting in their building.
Would you be willing to put their logo on it?
I would be willing to fly your letterhead or a little flag on the back that says lead. Yeah, they can lead and someone else can be follow and you guys just run all over the place.
Sure. I told Rob the 17-inch cutting deck we offered wasn't gonna work.
17-inch pushboard just doesn't get it.
Randy, question for you. Have you looked at a finishing deck to go behind the tractor? Just do the repairs necessary on the zero turn and then reduce the dependency on it by going with a finished deck so you got a wider cut swath there.
As a matter of fact, I just got through perusing for the third time a Toro sales brochure of a 3-pull PTO deck that is basically 3 bush hogs in one, and it'll cut about 15, 16 feet at one pass.
Wow.
But our Kubota tractor that we have
Don't pull it.
doesn't have enough of a horsepower to get it to move. However, the rec department loves it, so maybe next year we can build in the budget a swap. They get ours, we get a piece of their pie, and we can put it on a larger tractor. Ideally, a 4 large tired, all-terrain tractor with enclosed cab and a triple bush hog with articulated mower would be perfect, but the county already has one. And the commissioners graciously agreed to train my guy Lionel on how to drive that and take care of it. He is a mechanic after all.
Which commissioner was that?
You, by the way, and I got it on tape. That's the beauty about that thing right there. Also our sweepers, so we're gonna try to get some sweeping done along the perimeters of the field. We had a lot of activity and it's staying busy with armies back from deployment, so I look for them to start picking up and our jet fuel start taking off. We put brand new filler hose on our 100 low lead tank, and for those of you that use a credit card, our Fuel Master is up and running and repaired. We've already added 20 new customers to the fuel receipt so they can do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for customer service. So kudos for getting that 1-year maintenance agreement through. It's really helped a lot.
No, the road department's got a cab,
Wow.
sweeper that they can bring and let you use for
Why,
there.
yes you do.
Got air conditioner on,
And you've got a pressure washer and a sweeper car,
and a sweeper what?
a sweeper vehicle, a street sweeper.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So thank you for your generosity. I'm gonna hold you to that. Make sure you get his face.
No, I just said we had one, I didn't say.
The inference was not there.
Come on.
Randy, even if, don't assume anything, man. When it went forward this repair, how long would it take to get the thing back in service?
We should be able to have, if they go ahead forward with the repair, we should have it by Friday. And we got rain all week, so the bush hog is really not getting us too deep in debt. We went ahead and we bought weed killers, so we sprayed all the lights and runway and taxiway lights with HDX weed killer, and it's starting to work. So the bush hog, we can use it to save as much money as humanly possible to watch our budget.
I understand the budget, but I'm afraid if you get behind, you don't get this thing fixed, you'll never get caught up.
I know.
Is
You
it-
got one over on the house?
It's growing.
Anybody got one I can borrow?
22 inch, yeah.
Is that propel? I don't know if Lionel
Walk
can
behind,
run
you
that.
push it, it's
I don't know if Lionel can run that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I
Hey,
have.
we can
Oh,
advertise that as a new health plan.
there you go. Everybody wants to join a gym. Just come over and cut 1 mile of grass. You don't have to join a gym. Just come cut grass.
You'll be glad to Photoshop Don Parkinson on that.
We'll even give you a floppy hat.
Well, guys, went ugly fast. Do y'all think we should go ahead and repair that thing? Cause it, I mean, he needs it. I mean, there's no doubt.
I do
in my
need
mind
it.
he
Is
needs
that a
it.
motion?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I second that motion.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, the airport managers, thank you.
Randy, anything else?
No, I'm waiting for a great report from our engineer.
All right,
On the wind town.
great report.
All right, great.
Before you go there, Randy,
Uh-oh. It's always
The,
that one question.
yeah, I always do, you're right. Repairs on the existing building, the FBO building, if you want.
Oh, yes, sir. I'm,
You and I spoke about that before.
yes.
That, you know, clearly we're not moving forward with the modulars. So what do we need to do to get that building? I know the floor in the office and the wall in the office are pretty badly rotted out, and we've still got a water leak on that side. What do we need to do to get that at least cleaned up and stopped?
I forgot to mention that. I'm glad you brought it up. We have 3 contractors plus Lionel's family contracting business giving us estimates and recommended course of action. We're going to take those into account off the record. We're going to do it ourselves. So we just need the materials and how the best way to proceed. We are going to look for, in fact, cutting a hole in the half of the office and not only cleaning out underneath and fixing anything that's rotted out, but our conservative estimate is less than $5,000 spread out over four months. The fire department's burning some of the excess wood that went with the triple wide. We in fact have cannibalized the ADA accessible handles, some of the appliances and things that we may need, and a little bit of the lumber. We're in the planning stages now of a wheelchair ramp for the front of the FBO. Hopefully we'll get that going from part of the lumber that was left over from the triple. But yes, we look to be completed by October so we can have our Thanksgiving celebration in a building that won't fall down if you jump up and down.
And I do believe that we need to make that investment simply because that building is gonna have to carry us on for several years now, it looks like, and I'm good with that.
I
But
I
think we need to
anticipate
invest
5 to
there.
7 years we'll have to stay in that building. And that's just because I'm a pessimist. Optimist, really. That's optimistic, really.
Does that hurt us with the fire department?
Well, we had a 1-year waiver 7 years ago.
From the
Ideally-
distance to the field farm.
Ideally, if we'd spent the money instead of moving trailers, moving the building to where the trailers are, we'd have got out from under the fire department 100-foot rule, but, we can make it work, because I do not want to spend $160,000 to move those 2 fuel tanks that actually work, and that never ends well. So, I don't mind sitting next to it, if you don't mind me sitting next to it, because it doesn't bother me, I've been there 10 years. If it's gonna blow, it would have blown. I mean, I'm good.
Yeah.
Everybody looked the
You
other
do
way.
have
Did you see that?
long-
Everybody went,
No smoking.
that's right. Oh, yes, that's
But,
it.
you do, because you do have long-term plans, like airport layout plans, some accepted FAA planning for long-term, but if there's any help that we can provide and showing, demonstrating some of that stuff to the fire folks to extend that period, we'll be happy to do that. So
That'll work.
maybe we can maybe give them something to put in the file or something that helps out. So, anyway. Awesome. Ready for your, all right. Randy will not be a pessimist anymore after this information.
Oh, yeah.
So if you remember what we did with the beacon, right? So your
Yes.
beacon went down, we had that replaced by basically, Rob Gittersley, for the front that, we worked with DOT to make sure we got price quotes, make sure we get reimbursed 90% for that, set up as a reimbursement in the next grant. Same question came up about the wind cone. So wind cone is not lit currently. We have installed LED lit new wind cones at other airports. That includes the wind sock that's lit internally and really looks nice, very safe. We were asking back with quotes related to that. Basically, here's what we have. Typically, when those are installed, there are power cables run from the electrical vault out. There's a bare copper counterpoise in there. You've got trenching involved with that because the cone's not lit now. If you did that, it would be over 30 grand. However, we worked with FAA to get a agreement that if we use an LED, which you want anyway, so low drain, they'll allow us to tie into adjacent runway lighting circuit. That cost is about 10 grand to have it installed. We got 3 quotes, it's effectively 10 grand is what we'll be asking for that reimbursement. So that's a very effective price for what you're going to get from a safety standpoint. So similar to the beacon, what we'd ask for is if you want us to pursue that, what we would do is contact DOT, get a confirmation that it is reimbursable, which would be 9 grand essentially, or 10 grand, and then come back and interact with Rob and see if the county's willing to front that. You get it back in the same timetable we talked about the reimbursement on the beacon, which was about July. Now they're saying that grant's likely to be August when they get the FAA money for this fiscal year.
So this
they
should
both
come in
you
at
have
the same
both
time.
should have both shots in it. Yeah. We don't have a clear delivery time on that thing, so it could actually fall after the grant's written, but they just write a grant, you can have the money in advance, there wouldn't be any carry time. But we can't quite guarantee that, so you still have to look at going out front and getting 9 of it back. So the action tonight would be, if you want us to pursue that, we'll get confirmation from DOT in writing that they would reimburse that, and then we'll come back and work with the authority and Rob to see if you want to front that.
Any comments, Mr. Commissioner?
Sounds good work to me. We just need to run it before the board, maybe give them a heads up.
We do it just like we did the beacon, essentially these steps, because if you get the quote, then you confirm the reimbursement, because if they don't confirm that, you're out essentially. We just put it on the CIP and do it through typical channels, but, so you've got another check-in after we get that confirmation from them, so.
I can't speak for the other 2 commissioners, but normally if it's a reimbursement type issue, there's not going to be a problem.
And it's fair for airport stuff, fairly small dollar amount, and safety. So very positive to have that. Again, it's internally lit. It's that's really nice. So all we need is a motion to let us go to DOT to get that confirmation that they would reimburse. And then we'll share back that confirmation, then we'll make a decision.
Will you need to take action before our next meeting?
I would say, if you approve, the airport authority approves it based on the county funding it, that's probably what we'll do.
Yeah,
Because
that's-
it may take them 2 weeks to give us a yes back, it could be a day. If we get a day, then we'll come back and they'll just send a copy of the airport authority.
You can go ahead and present it at this
If y'all go ahead and vote on it
month's
tonight,
commissioners
what I
meeting
can do is amendment to the agenda for the Thursday night meeting, and then Phil can either watch the video, or I can try to give him, he or he want to try to talk to each other Friday, see if we got approved or not.
Mhm.
If things go.
Yeah.
But
So-
I can't speak that.
And it would be the same thing as your contingent on reimbursement, you're putting it based on reimbursement, same thing. That's
Yeah.
the commission's based on reimbursement. So if they don't reimburse it, you won't do it. Just do it through
Okay,
regular.
so a motion to approve it conditional upon the reimbursement and the 9% reimbursement and the commissioners fronting that for us.
So is that a motion?
I was looking for one, but we got one.
Got one? So moved and seconded.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, raise like sign.
All right, we'll pursue that. Then the other two things have been related to the Exhibit A and the survey. So I don't know how you guys would like to, if you'd like to tackle that later, or like maybe talk about that.
No, let's go ahead and tackle.
Jump in.
Okay.
Do y'all have a copy of that Exhibit A with you?
I do.
You have some here too,
So what the Exhibit A is, essentially in the lease for the horseshoe area that Phil Landrum wrote, in there's a reference to an Exhibit A document, and all that Exhibit A document doesn't have anything to do with the lease rate or anything like that. It just gives some methodology for how proposed lessees, the process they go through. So this essentially outlines that they would make the airport authority aware that they are interested in leasing. They provided preliminary plans similar. You saw that one that Keller had from last month. Eric Broadwell put together something similar. Just an outline of a sketch showing what area they want, and then provide you some renderings or some kind, just so you know that it's not going to be a purple hanger or something. It shows you coming. And that preliminarily referenced in here, got to get through that phase. After that, then they're required to do, once you approve it, produce plans for the land disturbing permit, the building permit, all those other requirements. Essentially, it's a lease. You're still the property owner, so you're the one liable for all those permits to be handled. So you're just basically making them responsible for what they're building as far as state, federal, and local permitting. So that's what it just gives some outline for the steps to follow. So we put together an outline that you can use, you can amend, you can start from scratch, but it just gives an outline, so it's all apples to apples for all those lessees. And it's, again, it's a supplement to what Phil put together. Phil's lease has a reference to an Exhibit A, this exact document, so.
From my review, the evaluation of submissions, we take that first paragraph or the full, move that to the top of Exhibit A, and then exhibit what's now just under Exhibit A, down through 9, seem to be pretty accurate, and we eliminate grounds for denial, because that is really encompassed in that evaluation of submissions. So we simplify this thing a little bit, and otherwise I think it's fairly encompassing what we want to accomplish. We do need the catch-all phrase and other documents or things as required. Paul, you had some comments on this as well about completion, I think, of the.
I just want to make sure that when we sign a lease with a company, that two things. One is that if they get started on it halfway through it and run out of money and can't get the rest of the financing, I don't want the authority or anyone else in the county held responsible for it. The second thing is to make certain that if we have a good 5 years, they finish the project, they've got 5 years under their belt, and the economy changes, then I want to make sure we're not held if they quit paying. I assume that would would go into foreclosure through a bank or whoever has it, and then we would stand, our lease would stand like taxes would, that whoever bids on it would be bidding the past lease amount too.
Correct. And in the real lease that Phil put together, that's all addressed in there. As far as payments and default, what's considered default and all that. So that's outlined in there. In this one, that's kind of where we get all the apples to apples on the treatment. This just gives some guidance to the steps they
To the
take once
process.
they've made it aware that they're interested.
Should we include in this a performance bond?
You can, I mean, it may be,
They're not building it for a government entity or another entity.
no, it's really for them.
themselves.
I think
Right.
you've
The
got,
idea though is to see that they get it finished up. So it's not left in a partial state of completion.
We don't want half the building and no money to finish it or anything else, that it sits there.
So I don't think it's required, that's fine, but it's just a thought based on the comments.
Same way with just having the authority to receive a lien waiver on every
you
contract.
can add, like under 5 in here, where it says, or include, some of the things that have to do with the land disturbance permit, the building permit, and say, construction performance bonds, essentially. These same things we put in the other big projects. Those are not very expensive, but it does,
And, it could be a performance bond may be required at discretion of the airport authority.
And then somebody's building, especially if somebody has a remnant, for example, and they're building a
Right.
60 by 60, you may waive that, but something bigger, like a Keller on both sides, that may be something, yeah. And Ed, like you referenced on number 9, it says other information Pickens might county may require and specific
Yeah.
requests. Like that. So the intent is the lease covers all the lease stuff. This is just to give some guidance on that process once they show interest. So.
Okay, so are the other members comfortable removing the grounds for denial? Because I think that lies with us anyway.
I think it's implied anyway, that's why I think that, maybe we want to rework that evaluation of submissions to simply include that any submission may be denied based on the authorities' requirements, planning, whatever. I think it is pretty much stated in there already, so.
And you have, again, in the lease that Phil put together, that's meeting all the FA criteria, apples to apples, and the treatment, and economic non-discrimination, and all this. So this is just giving some structure to the process they follow after they're interested in that. This you can change anytime, but if you want to move forward with this, with these changes, and then that lets the two folks who are in line right now, they can begin to move forward with that process. If you amend it, it doesn't have the same effect that it's touching that bigger piece.
Right.
Is that a motion with?
That is a motion
changes?
with the changes, and I'll make those changes and distribute to the group later this week. But I do make a motion that we accept this Exhibit A with the modifications.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed, like sign. Thank you.
And would you like me to make these changes and shoot it to you in the morning, and you can?
Yeah, that's fine. If you want to do it, that's
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
And I will, if you're fine with it, I'll copy Phil on that. When this was sent out, it was copied, but let's see, we've talked about this. The only other thing I have is on as you move into the lease of the property and their permitting, within the horseshoe, the boundary that you have now was surveyed before it was built. So you need to get a new boundary for that, including the right-of-ways. So the lessees have one of their property lines is defined essentially. You also have in here that horseshoe was built with the pond able to handle the horseshoe being complete impervious surface. So as each of your tenants go to get their land disturbing permit, topo of your common areas, the ditches in the pond are necessary for them to get their permits. So you've got, and again, the question is how to divide this up between airport authority, Development Authority, county, all that, but bottom line is you've got to pick up a boundary, the monumentation for that, utilities, topo in the common areas, to prepare to have all that data available for the tenants. So we've got survey quotes of that all broken into pieces. This is not anything that's FA eligible. You basically got turnkey, already approved property. That's how you're getting the grant back on the property. So none of this you're going to get reimbursement for. Basically, you break that down. Total, it's about 28 acres all of Horseshoe. This is not topo in any of the areas that you're leasing. It does include topo of the common areas that you need. Boundary survey, monumentation, plat that you can add the lease stuff to, so you have that documented properly. If you break it into what's boundary and what's common areas, it's about $6,800 worth of boundary and about $12,300 worth of common areas. That's topo, outfall outside the Horseshoe, utilities, monumentation, recording the plat, the courthouse, all that. So there will need to be something done with that prior to the actual execution. That your lessees will not be able to get their land disturbing permits without the topo in that pond, for example. So that's a breakdown of what those two, if you kind of separate it by boundary and common area. That's prices we got. You don't have to take action tonight, but we're gonna have to do something with that at some point. There's not another, we can't get a big reimbursement for that.
The person leasing the land will have to do a topo for their area in addition to this, correct?
Correct. So for
The land
example,
disturbance.
if Eric Broadwell leases 3 acres, for example, then he'll have that topo he's responsible for, but it'll tie into everything else.
In a conversation earlier, you and I talked about doing the survey for the T-hanger site as well.
Yes.
Was that quoted, is that included? Is
I
it
didn't include it in here.
Okay.
That's about another $1,500 to pick that out.
1,500?
And tie it in. It's kind of offset from the rest of the Horseshoe. And with the topo, if they go out there and can do this all at one time, then these prices are, if we break it into 5 little pieces, for example, it gets those, they loosen scale value. So, and we would, if we had something else we're doing on the airport topo, we need a topo for, we could use that to scrub off getting on site and have them come back home, but we don't have anything else that's going on topo wise that we can scrub off with that $1 million.
Is there a county contract for surveying or anything we can draw against that might help reduce that cost?
Not that I know of, I'm not familiar.
I don't think we have that much.
I thought there was an original drawing of the whole completed complex with topos and all.
There's in that survey, that surveyor's not doing the work anymore. But what he had is a survey. He did that prior to it being built. So I think that was done in order to break out the property from the overall amount, but it's not, it was done before the construction. So that's great.
And you say we don't have to do anything today, but if we want to execute a lease and start turning soil, this has got to be completed prior to.
For them
And
to do land survey.
my understanding is that both Eric and the other group, Keller, are ready to start turning dirt.
You know, what, even if you take kind of the outline on that Exhibit A is essentially they're gonna have to, they'll provide you, and now showing the area they're interested. Keller did that, the last meeting had that. Broadwell put together, he had a sketch at that meeting, it wasn't presented, but kind of his area bumps up against Keller's. So as when they show kind of what the rendering of what they build, and you go through that preliminary, yes, we're fine with it. At that point, when they start doing the engineering plans, when that's submitted, that capacity, that topo capacity of the pond, and also their boundary for their specific lease plat will be developed from that. Like we talked about, that part on the impact on them boundary-wise, or how many acres they have, that variation line them is probably hundredths of an acre, so that's not a big dollar swing, but it does let that area be locked in. legally.
Guys, what are your thoughts here? If we're gonna, we wanna lease
Well,
this land, to make it
Here's
leasable, we gotta have
the
a.
challenge is, we've already approved the Keller lease, and so has Development Authority. So
We've gotta
we
execute on
gotta,
this. We gotta move forward on this, period.
yeah. But we don't have any money.
That's the challenge.
Yeah, well, if an individual leases land and buys the land, in order to get a land disturbance permit, it's up to the owner of the property or the leasee of the property to get the topo all done for his.
They'll get it for their property
Right.
with that horseshoe. The drainage, when they pave their site, the runoff, the capacities in the pond for the whole thing, so that common area, topo is not the responsibility of the individual, as it said.
What is the minimum that we would have to do to go forward with the projects that are proposed now? And I know if you do less, it costs more, I understand
Yeah.
that, but there's a question of coming up with
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, you have to do the, I mean, you have to do the pond, but they're tying in, if you remember the taxiway, for example, back. There is a distance over, that's the safety area, you're not allowed to lease within that area. So that's a common area that they have to tie into topo-wise punching through their connector taxiway. So they can't lease it, but they do need topo for that. That has a ditch in it and the pond, so that capacity, when you basically show that pre and post design, the ability to retain all the water and the runoff on the site is contained in that pond.
Go ahead, I'm
But
sorry.
my original question is, what's the minimum we could do to get these projects to go forward?
I think if you could do the pond only, you're not gonna be able to find their lease area, so you'll be right behind with the lease plat, because, you know, along the road, this is gonna tell you where that line is.
Because the whole thing is they've got to work the runoff and they've got to have the pond topo to be able to do that.
Yeah, you
And
basically, the
common
pond's all
areas.
just, it all works, it's in there, but there is, when they submit, it's that common area that they've got, that has to be submitted to show. I mean, it has to be developed to basically reside with the county permit folks, so they know anytime somebody leases something.
I understand,
It's good.
but let's back up to dollars. I understand we have an on-site fee, which if we did that repeatedly, we're going to pay repeatedly. But what are some options versus what we have to do with on-site fee? And I'm looking at fee side.
Yeah, so you've got, like on the boundary, you've got field control survey and location survey. You've got a boundary survey plat. So you don't need to produce the plat. You could go do a survey, but without the plat, you don't have anything to share. So you can't, that's difficult to break down beyond the $6,800. The lease area, the common area, topo, that boundary around that site does not include the interior, right? So there's a separate plat that's developed inside the horseshoe. You need that plat in order to demonstrate where, say, Keller's lease line and Broadwell's lease on the other side of it don't overlap. So you've got definition of that. That's $1,300. You could cut it out, but if you go back out to pick it up, instead of $1,300, you're probably looking at, you know, it could be double that.
So the 20-something thousand that you're discussing is to get the whole horseshoe project. You were discussing, what, 1,500 for the 10-hanger sites? And
19,100 for the
The
boundary and for the topo of the common, and then an additional 1,500. So 19,001 for,
and where's the 68?
If we break that 19.1 into two parts, so in case you wanted to allocate costs different directions,
Okay.
there's about 6,800 costs in the
Well,
boundary part. There's about
and correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole problem is the cash outlay. We want to
Yeah,
do
absolutely.
what's.
So like common area, you've got the underground utility survey that goes around the outside of it too. So that where to tap in the power, where to, that doesn't exist. So you could cut that out, that's $3,000, for example. But at that point, you're gonna tie into it. And you don't have any as-built engineering drawings because you didn't survey anything after it was built. You've got a boundary survey that was done before anything was built. So that boundary survey, not radically off, but how it goes around there, as you lease areas in there, to have it accurately depicted. So so you can go out there and say, this is where your lease line is.
And I'm not disagreeing with anything you said. I'm just looking at options to chop it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm doing.
Can we bid
The
this,
topo.
open bid?
Well, I think that
We have
the
a
challenge
bid.
you have is this. these pieces, these are a lot of pieces, but these are like $2,000, $3,000, $1,300, $1,300, $1,500. So when you start to break it up, you can get it down, I mean, you can do, if you had, you have to do the topo on that pond for them to get permits, but you also have to develop, without having them go out there and just kind of start building. Let's say we did the design plans for where they're leasing. In that land disturbing permit, you're required to show points of where, like here's a corner of a parking lot. So is that in their lease area or not? Well, you need to know what the outline of the lease area is. So some of it you could morph back and put on the lessee and say, we want you guys to, you don't really have lots like a subdivision. We could go back and go, hey, you know what, we think that we're gonna have the equivalent of 8 chunks of property in here, and we're gonna break this up and have everybody pay a portion of that,
Well, we-
$2 grand a piece. Well, so the bottom line is what you have to do, you don't have to do anything today. Probably in a month, you're gonna at least have to do the topo on the pond. Probably a month after that, if you, and again, if you don't wanna do a boundary of the horseshoe, you may be able to get by kind of without it. But ultimately, if there's an issue with like water line, utility location, which aren't gonna be yours, those are gonna be the city's, for example. So some of that stuff, it'd be easier to get it now, understand the cash flow part, but if you have to come back later, it's likely because somebody built something across the line, or because some of that would be a little bit
Why don't we,
sketchy, but.
if I may interject something here, won't let Lisa, my secretary, call you. We'll set up a time, get you back up here. I've got a surveyor that we can bring in. That, Mr. Boland sold out to a company out of LJ. We got a local guy here that can do the topos and all. Let's sit down and have about a 2-hour discussion with him and see what we can do. And you can explain to him whatever the issues is. And if any one of y'all want to sit in on the meeting, please do so. Because we're just beating our heads together right here. 'Cause I have no idea what we're doing. I don't know what I'm washing or hanging out. So let's, if you want to do it this week, it'll be fine. If you want to do it next week, it'll be fine. I'm not doing anything now at 4 o'clock in the morning, so whatever's available for you, so.
I was gonna get a lawnmower, but.
Yeah, well, that's okay, pass on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's, me and you, and maybe 1 or 2 of these gentlemen here, and then we'll get the surveyor in. We don't have to use him, but he's the one that's been doing some county surveys since Mr. Boland sold out, so we've got another guy online that does topo and everything.
And it'd be nice to have another price or two in there just
Yeah.
as comparison.
And we have several, this is the lowest one. But for Mr. Bowman, we had worked with Mr. Bowman to get that historic stuff,
Yeah.
and then we got word that he was not doing anymore, so
Right.
that's what we rolled up to it.
So we just need-
We'd absolutely do that.
Yeah,
We need to
let's
get
do
one of our pilots, Greg Johnson, in on this meeting, because he surveyed for Georgia Power for 30 years,
That's true,
and he shot our line for us on the east side.
He's a registered surveyor and has a survey business. I mean, for what this is, we can I'm just putting this on, we can very easily get into 3, 4, 5 meetings on the survey, and at that point, we'll just pay for the thing. Because it's gonna be, some of these pieces are pretty small. So I'd say if for the size of the work that Mr. Bowen had done before, maybe what the new person,
Yeah.
that size of company is very good for this stuff. And if it's someone who's not used to doing this size, it'll probably.
This gentleman here has already done some surveying outside the horseshoe area, so he's
Oh,
very
yeah.
familiar.
Yeah.
He's very familiar with the project, knows what's
Yeah.
going on. He can do the topo and everything as he surveys the whole thing. Let's get some prices from him.
And this is the same one we talked about several months
Yeah.
ago when we were trying to develop the lease area drawing and found out that he had.
We can turn that around, pretty quick, not have to drag our feet.
So we'll just work to we'll get up by now. if you-
Ultimately, we're gonna have to do this thing, but, the question becomes, can we save any money and do it? So.
Yeah.
As far as the scope, it's very, we have complete clarity on what that scope is, so for sharing and things like that, it's get apples to apples, very easy. So we'll just pursue that, and then ultimately, again, you don't have to do, there's nothing required of that. You're pacing so that will ultimately be done. So work with Rob, get that, and then just brief you guys back on the architect.
So Rob, once you set that meeting, if you want to just shoot an email to the group, we'll say
Okay.
who can join you, and
I can get Lisa to do that in the morning, and I'll be there at 8 o'clock. Mr. Landon, that's our county attorney, he's leaving for Texas. I think it's Wednesday or Thursday this week, but we don't need him for this, we just need to get some prices.
No, and he's aware, we've talked to him about this
Yeah.
before, but this is essentially, it's the same thing we talked about back when we were doing the original, the lease outline, so we could show the lessees what space was available. But the same thing, you didn't have to take action then, so now you're going, now you're getting closer, so we'll do this, and then that'll.
Let's
that'll
kind of fast
be
track, let's don't. Then if we have to, we can have a special call meeting, just gonna give me time to have Faye look at kind of penny slice you got back there.
Good. All right,
Awesome. Cool,
Phil,
that's it,
anything
that's all I
else?
got, no.
all right, Commissioner,
Mm-hmm.
report, remarks.
Mark, report. Well, I don't know if I'm able, David throw me under the bus though with my wife. The trailer, the triple wide out there, it's gonna be a good training facility for the fire department. They're gonna use it to penetrate the walls, no, we can't burn it, nor do we want to. As soon as the fire department gets done with the trailer, then the road department's coming in there with the track hoe, we're gonna crush it, put it in dumpsters and haul it off like we planned on doing down at Corporal Park. We've still got approximately a little over $7,000 left of the money that we'd set aside for this unit, so we'll just hold on to that money. We won't spend it, nor will the contractor get that money. So it just is what we knew it was going to cost. It was going to cost us $16,000 to get it off the recreation property anyway. All right, we got it off the recreation property. All we got to do is just crush it and get it out of the way, and Sloan can use it for training. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, but I did get it out of the way of the recreation department for baseball, and that was the biggest rush. Sorry it didn't work out, but we tried. So we've got $7,000 more sitting in escrow that
Taking the hallway in.
we could use for something. Well, it ain't gonna cost us to haul away. We'll just crush it, put it in dumpsters and crush it ourselves. And
Yeah.
the rails and all, we'll take it to the scrap barn pile. And
So that
and-
7 could be used then to potentially,
toss. And then the block, all that concrete block, Randy wanted it for the
Leave it in
airport.
place.
So I mean, it's
so no loss there.
no loss there.
That's good.
So I don't think we need to keep throwing good money out for bags.
I agree.
And evidently the guy that was doing the trailer is, who knows, where he's at. So it is what it is, but, you know, it's a good experience. But it beats paying $80,000 for the other two bids we had, so at least we're $7,000 to the good and got $16,000 invested in getting the thing off the recreation part. Appreciate the use of y'all's property. Well, it gives us a place to put it, so.
No problem,
So that-
anytime.
That was the plan, wasn't it, Randy?
Yes, sir.
So,
Glad to cooperate.
but there's some switch boxes and plumbing stuff that y'all can rob out of it, and some of the parts we can use, so.
Joe Painter needs to know also if he needs plumbing, urinals, toilets.
They're not water saver devices, so we
Oh, that's
wouldn't be using them anyway. Now, the sinks, something like that you could probably use, but the commodes and urinals and all are not water saving devices, we wouldn't use them.
What about the air conditioning units out there?
Me and Randy brought that up, they're probably still good, but the time I pace them out to take them out, they're, ain't know how many years old them things are, so would they be worth salvaging with a scrap iron?
Gus Heaton in there looked at them and said parts are almost impossible to get because they're so outdated.
Okay. Never mind.
It wouldn't be cost effective to put it in our building. Put them out
Very
with some
good.
scrap.
That's where, other than that, I'm not gonna be able to focus much in the airport the next few months because we're starting, the paving season is starting to crank up in Pickens County. And particularly that's coming on board, but we're gonna get some stuff down at the airport. And this here, hopefully about a month and a half, this mobile home will be gone. And, we'll regroup, and like I say, we've got about $7,000 that we can use for remodeling on Randy's, building, or who knows, you might wanna buy a lawnmower or something.
Might indeed.
Just a thought. But I'm just one of 3 commissioners, but I, whatever.
All right, anything else?
No, Ralph, everything's pretty peaceful and quiet. Florida was beautiful, rained every day, but it was nice.
Yeah.
Wish you could have been there.
Except for the concrete walls.
There's one thing about them, if you hit them with a car hard enough, they don't move.
Oops.
And David's gonna fix my wife's car for her.
Where you staying at tonight, Commissioner?
Well, I was staying at home, you talking to my wife.
I'm sorry.
All right, old business. I reported that, of course, we had approved the color lease, so had Development Authority, so that one is proceeding forward. The Eric Broadwell, he had presented us with the letter of intent at our last meeting.
Right.
We did pass this around, I didn't make copies of it again. You mentioned in what you said that he was adjacent to Keller, has he changed or?
There's a gap in there, I think.
Okay.
I just saw the one he had at the, when we met in, April.
There's a gap in between those two, I believe, Don. So there's gonna be another small area to lease
Yeah.
on that side.
And it wasn't architecturally drawn. It looked like it was drawn with his ruler. But I'm seeing 7 box hangers and 8 tees.
That's what
kind of
that's what I remember. Yes.
I have not had discussions with him. I think you two have.
I had indeed.
And based on what y'all have said, Eric is looking for a commitment from us that we would be willing to do that, a letter of intent as he presented with us.
He's asking for us to sign a letter of intent that we're holding his position and that he can move forward and in good faith investing some money to get engineering drawings done.
Yep.
And so that's what he's looking for with that letter of intent from my discussions
Okay,
with him.
so what I'm hearing then is a letter of intent that we would enter into with him, for him to come back to us with starting going through essentially our exhibit A that we approved.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Was that a motion?
That is a motion.
All right. Second. All right. Any further discussion on that for Eric? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? T-hanger update, hadn't done a whole lot because we've been waiting on some other things to kind of get settled, and between Development Authority and some other county projects so that we know exactly what the windmill pledge would look like when we go to the commissioners. That's getting closer for us knowing what all that looks like. Here was a discussion we had at Development Authority, and I wanted us to have that same discussion. Given now that we've got Keller and Broadwell, Keller certainly a go, Broadwell a step behind.
Right.
Is, do we still feel like that our 19/20 T-hangers that we were talking about, do we still feel like there's enough demand to fill everything that's going on?
Randy, you are
Yes.
probably the closest to the pulse on that because you're dealing with people calling and looking for hangers.
Yes,
What's
and,
your opinion?
By talking to the 2 people who are going forward, we have agreed not to compete with each other, and that our prices for our T-hangers that are gonna be built are almost exactly in the line with the prices he intends to charge. I feel 5 to 6 phone calls daily because the rumor is out that Pickens County is building hangars. And apparently there's 90 airfields in the state of Georgia that's giving them our phone number. Yes, I do not feel that if we build these 18 T-hangers, we will get burned in any way, shape, or form. They'll be ours, they'll be hard property, they'll be income producers, and they'll stay 100% occupied.
You know, from my discussions with Eric, and I've not talked with Teller as much, but with Eric, my understanding there is he's after the EAA crowd, the home-built aircraft.
Yes.
And in fact, part of his plan will include EAA chapter office for the field.
Yes.
And he's looking at box hangers that are going to rent for basically $1,000 a month. That
Yes.
he'll put 3 RV-type airplanes in. So
Yes.
the target that we're after is more the traditional certificated aircraft for our T-hangers. So I think there really is a difference in the airplane owner that we're after there.
Yes, he's looking for builders, we're looking for flyers.
Right.
I don't think we'll have trouble with that.
Okay. So everybody comfortable continuing the path we're on?
And everyone that has the letter of commit, that $250 check, every single person is not, I mean, no
We've had
one's.
one dropout.
And only because he's already got a hanger, low. So they are still firmly committed and they still want their hanger.
I talked to a couple of them regular of still wondering,
Excellent. Yeah.
how fast are we gonna get them?
Yeah.
They want them. Yes, that market is there.
And I'm getting questions from people with larger aircraft as well. So Navajos, 421s, there's a couple guys down at Airport South of us with 421, 414s looking for a new home. So
Yes.
All right. Any other old business that anybody's aware of?
May I make one comment, Phil, with y'all's presence? If the county was to go over and do a complete survey and topography of the whole area, and these individuals such as Cullinan wants to come and build their units, could they reimburse the county for their area?
And effectively, it'd be cheaper for them to hold, like for example, that, in this quote, this is without
Yeah.
even the roof bill and everything, that's $7,500 for 28 acres of survey.
Yeah.
topo for all of them.
Just do the topo for the whole thing, and then as you guys lease this stuff out, then let them reimburse the county for what the topo costs. They gotta buy a topo one way or the other.
Right.
And you get it cheaper doing
Yeah,
both.
so if you effectively said, if you pulled the trigger, whether it's this price or
Right.
another, but you won't pay more than this, right? So you'd be 7,500 at the worst for the topo.
Mhm.
If you did that and just said, hey, roughly, there may be ultimately eight tenths in there, something, we're just gonna charge people $1,000 a piece for the topo and just make it part of the
To me,
agreement.
that makes sense, but I just wanted to
It
discuss it
it
with you guys.
does,
since
but
you're wanting to do
and
that.
what that's doing is, that's doing it all, doing the economy
Mhm.
scale, doing it all in one shot.
Yeah.
And multiple times out.
And just get it over with, and then they can just reimburse us.
You can allocate that on a cost per acre, if you will, so.
Okay, all right, just something I'm throwing out there. It's gonna be my-
The one challenge I would see to that is somebody's gonna step up and say, but I got a buddy that's a surveyor, I can get it done cheaper.
There's some,
It's just a condition of.
leasing, exactly.
there is some, I agree with the
Yeah.
risk,
Yeah.
is you have a buddy that's surveyed, the most you'll save is 1,000, and for the level of surveying that you're gonna get, and what you're gonna get permit wise, it may not be worth the risk to get it for 300.
I think it's better program going forward.
The
way
first month,
you're
land
suggesting.
paid
Yeah.
for.
Absolutely.
And get it, yeah. Get
That'd
it
be
over
done.
with.
Then it's county approved and endorsed and.
We've been,
we
doing-
know
I've
it's correct.
I've been chewing on this thing since '05. I'm ready to see something happen.
Me and you both.
The,
Amen.
that breakout has all that, so when we have that meeting,
Okay.
they run through all that. It's not taking price, they insist
We'll
to
talk,
price out these.
we'll talk in the
exact
morning.
same things. That sounds awesome.
Any new business before the authority? Motion to adjourn?
So motion.
All right, all in favor?
And
Thank you very much.